I recommend that you work with only 5 of the many keying effects in Premiere Pro, starting with the color key, which is kind of a simplified version of the Ultra key, the Luma key, which works with dark and light areas, the garbage matte key, which is really 3 different keys, but they all work the same way, 4, 8, or 16-point versions of the garbage matte key, the track matte key, and the Ultra key. In this lesson, we're going to cover the color key, Luma key, and the garbage matte key. We're going to cover the Ultra key in the next 2 lessons, and we're going to cover the track matte key in the next chapter. So let's get started with the first 3, color, Luma, and garbage matte. To follow along, go to Working Files, Projects, scroll on down and open up 1402, Trying Out Keying Effects. We have a number of different scenarios we're going to work with here, so let's get started with this first one. Let's go over to Effects, click on the Effects tab, and open up Video Effects, and go on down to Keying. So let's go back up here and look at the color key and apply that to this clip. This clip is selected, so I'll just double click on this effect and it'll add it automatically there. And here it shows up in the Effect Controls panel. And the way this works is that you select a color that you want to make transparent. So you click on the eyedropper tool here, you move it into the clip and select the color. Now what you want to do is you want to find kind of the average color in terms of brightness and hue. So when I look at the sky, I see it gets dark blue up here and much lighter down here. So I want to find some average right down here in the middle. And rather than just clicking now, I'm going to hold down the Control or the Command key, Control in Windows, Command in Mac. And you notice how the eyedropper gets fatter. It's going to pick a 5 by 5 pixel area rather than a single pixel. It's a much better way to pick a pixel this way. You really get a better feel for the proper color. So I'm going to pick on that, and it's going to select that color, which is basically an average of those 25 pixels. You notice that a little bit began to turn transparent there. But we need to increase the tolerance to make this thing really work. So we open up the tolerance disclosure triangle, start dragging this to the right. You can see we're expanding the area that we're considering tolerant. We're expanding the amount of blue, the width of the blue. It's actually working pretty well. It's running into an edge there. And how it's working here would indicate that we might have picked the color a little bit higher up, a little bit darker, but still working out pretty well. Let's see how this goes here. And there we are. I think we got that pretty well done. It's kind of bleeding into the edge now there. So we might have wanted to pick a slightly different color, maybe a little bit higher up to get a little darker, but that really worked pretty well. It's very distinct there. You have a little bit of blue leaking around here from the sky, but that's a pretty good job. Now what's nice about the color key is that you've got an edge thin. They really should call it the edge change or something, because you can thin it by going this way, and that'll give you some opening areas around the edge. Or if you go this way, you make the edge thicker. You kind of push into the boundaries. Notice how that works. So that's a good little thing to have. I think we're pretty happy with where we got things there now. Right about there. And then you've got this thing called the edge feather, which is really nice. It sort of smooths out the edges, smooths out the transition from the keyed area to the non-keyed area. Makes it just a little less abrupt. I like that. That's a nice feature inside here. So that, folks, is the color key. Let's apply the color key to this time-lapse shot over here where it's pretty dark. It's not going to work very well, but we'll try it anyways. Now it's applied. Let's pick a color here. What do we pick? Pick the bright sky. Okay, that's one thing to do. Let's increase the color tolerance a little bit there. See how that works. There you go. It does work there. Okay, now if you want to do something in terms of the dark area, it might not be quite so effective. I'll hold down the Control key, pick a fat area there. Whoa! Pull back the tolerance a bit there. You see the color key works better when you've got some nice color to select rather than just something really dark. Turn that off. We'll go right to the Luma key now. Let's scroll on down to the Luma key, because Luma key will work better with this dark area like that. I'll just double click and apply it there. It'll kick in right away. It immediately looks for something dark. Let's open this up, threshold and cutoff. These are a little tricky here. Just pull this guy back until you're satisfied with how much black, how much dark area you want to have keyed out. You know, at some point you're going to go, okay, I think I've probably pulled it too far back, or that'll work for me. The cutoff is something you just approach that little bit just to kind of help define it. See how it gets a little brighter there? But if you get right to the number, see 9.6? If I get right to 9.6, it's just going to go whack like that. It kind of reverse itself. So you approach 9.6 to kind of refine it a little bit, make it a little bit brighter, make a better matte, as it's called. But that's how Luma works. You can reverse things if you pull this guy to the right, as we just did there. You sort of tend to reverse it. You look for the brighter areas now instead of the dark areas. That's how the cutoff tends to make it a bright versus a dark selection. All right, that's Luma key. I want to use the color key again on this green screen. So going over here, we got this DJ in front of this green screen. And it wasn't that well shot. It's kind of a dull green. It's not truly chroma key green. The lighting on it was a little bad too. You can see dark areas down here, kind of bright around him. It's going to be tough to make this thing work, especially with the color key. The Ultra key will work better, but we'll try the color key in this and see how it goes. So let me just apply the color key by double-clicking on it to put it in there. There we go. And notice that I have the Luma curve here already applied. The Luma curve I'm trying to use to brighten things up so that the color key can work better. Right now, the Luma curve is on top because we applied the color key second, but it really should be applied first, so it does its job first before we work on the color key. Without the Luma curve, it would look like that. Even more difficult to make that key work. So I'm going to put on the Luma curve to help us make this key, and also to kind of just give a little more contrast and brightness to this clip. Now let's see if we can key out the green. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work that well, but the garbage mat will come to our rescue. So let's click on the little eyedropper. I want to find some place that's kind of an average here. It's dark down here in the corner. It's bright around him. So I'm going to pick an area down here that's kind of an average. Hold down the controller command key, make that little fat eyedropper, and select that. Okay, now we need to increase the tolerance and see how this works here. You can see how it was lit. See how it's brighter here and darker around the edges? You can see how they lit it here. As we approach this, that's pretty good. But at some point, we're going to start cutting into him. See how we're starting to cutting into him now? So you can't go too far. So we'll stop right about there. And I'm not worried about these guys down in the corner. I'm not worried about them because we're going to fix them with the garbage mat. So let's just take a look at the edge thinning. I don't think we need to worry about that here because I think we got a pretty good job. If I pull it in maybe a little bit, see how his hands are disappearing now? Not good. So I think we'll leave it basically there. He's got a little bit of halo. That's one of the issues when you do chroma key work, but there you go. That works pretty well. We can do an edge feather here a little bit. That might smooth out the edges there around his shoulders and stuff. Not bad. But we got to deal with this down here. So let me close this guy up. What I want to do is use a garbage mat key. So let's roll on down the line here to a garbage mat. And you'll see how this works in a second. I'm going to add the 8-point garbage mat because that gives me a certain amount of control. 16 points gives me more control, but 8's plenty in this case because all we're going to do is get those guys to become transparent down here in the corner. So double click on the 8-point garbage mat. We've added that now. I click on it so you can see the controls. They go around the outside edge here. What I want to do is I want to make these areas transparent to show through to what's below there. Right now you see the whole clip. If you pull this back, that'll make it transparent. See that? Also makes this thing transparent too. We don't want to make that transparent. So I'm going to pull over right to him like that, maybe a little below like that. Bring this thing down. Oh, I think we got it. Oh, look how easy that was, right? I want to protect this area over here too, so I'll pull it right to the edge of that little piece of equipment there. And now I think we got it. If we pull to the left here, you see the green. Now we're set. So the garbage mat key helped us finish this off. There isn't any movement here. Nobody's working there. There's nothing there that we need to worry about. So we can just clean it up with the garbage mat key. So now we've got those two guys working together. And this is how it looks. All right, I think that worked out pretty well. Let's move on now to the garbage mat key sequence here. I'm going to do this in much more detail in an upcoming lesson, but I want to give you a taste for how this works. I have two clips here plus an adjustment layer. I put the adjustment layer on because I want to have a little bit of contrast and color there. And if I apply an adjustment layer and I have a bunch of clips all working together here where you've got part of one clip showing and part of another clip showing, the adjustment layer then works on all of them at the same time. If I turn that off, it would look like that. This looks a little better, I think, don't you? So what I want to do is I've got two clips here. The one on the bottom looks like this. The gentleman, Bruce Philpott by name, is sitting there in the chair. He shot himself once like that. Then he came back and shot another clip of him walking in and sitting down over there. The trouble is he wants to show the guy over here as well as himself sitting there. And later we're going to show somebody sitting here as well. It's going to be quite a scene. We're going to work on this in an upcoming lesson. So let's see how we get this guy to show up with this guy. It's quite simple. We apply a garbage mat. We apply a garbage mat to the one on top. We want to make this area here transparent so we can see what's underneath it down here in the sequence. So apply an 8-point garbage mat. That should be enough there. Double click on it to add it to this clip. There we go. Click on it here and we click on it here to see the points. Now I want to pull this back like so. There we go. To reveal what's underneath it, to open up this transparent area there. And lo and behold, there's Bruce and the clip below it. And notice also how the adjustment layer is helping both clips at the same time equally. That's just good. Now I've taken care of it. If I turn this off or if I just click away, you'll see that it's seamless because the camera was locked down. We've got those two guys now in the same scene. So that's how you can use the garbage mat key to put two guys in the same scene. In an upcoming lesson, we're going to have 4 guys in the same scene. So that is a look at 3 of the 5 recommended effects: color, luma, and garbage mat.